Senator, welcome back to the program. How is the population growing in Oklahoma? Is it going up, or is it flat, or what's going on?
No, it's going up. It looks like we're like Texas, and during the next census, we're a good chance we pick up a 6 seat. We used to have 6 seats. We only have 5 in the House. We picked up. We lost one in 2000. It looks like we're going to pick up another one up in 2030 now, and which is why I want to talk about the census. Yes. You're absolutely right that our city's underneath attack. Detroit, it runs Michigan. Denver and Boulder runs Colorado. Otherwise, Colorado would be red. You look at what they're trying to do in Houston and Dallas, Fort Worth. And remember, Jerry Polis is the one who wrote the book on how to turn Jerry Polis, by the way, is the most liberal governor we have in the United States. He's the one that wrote the book on how to turn a red state blue, and he did it in Colorado. Yes. But I want to point something out to you. Even if they don't become citizens, even if they don't have voting rights, they are counted on the census. And when they're counted on the census, that state picks up more seats in that area. So if they bring the immigration, remember this big fight that Trump fought back in 2017, 2018, and in 2020 about not allowing the illegals to be counted on the census, said you had to be a U.S. citizen. The court at that time overruled him and said that that doesn't matter, that the census is based on population, and that census is how they pick up seats. So say New York City, who's lost population, they were able to pick up seats because of the census. Now that doesn't mean that everybody's voting. That just means that the congressman is roughly having 740 individuals or constituents per their district, 740,000. So when you start looking at that, that's how they can control the House, by picking up more seats. So they also at the same time have a tendency to be able to change that voting block to when you start talking about electoral votes, because they get more electoral votes also based on the number of congressional seats. Yeah, so they can do an end around on us by not even making them citizens and not giving illegals voting rights. So they've already done it on the census part of it. It's a really scary, and Benny, what you're talking about is very, very scary, which is why we've been talking about this for a long time, except you're the one that's leading the conversation.
So we need mass deportations. How do we accelerate those? The administration says that there have been 2 million people who have either been deported or have left voluntarily. Obviously, the big, beautiful bill flooded DHS with a lot more resources. What would you like to see when it comes to the acceleration of the clearly criminal underbelly of our nation? What we started with here, Senator, was what's happening in Charlotte, which please put up the map. What's happening in Charlotte is remarkable. You're able to see what a city looks like without all of the criminal aliens. And yeah, I know that there are some construction sites that are empty, but you should be hiring Americans for those jobs, honestly. And businesses should be forced to do that. Obviously, this is just the traffic map, but what can we do to accelerate this throughout the country?
Let me talk about the traffic map too. So Oklahoma is working with DHS and Department of Transportation. All these illegals that are driving semis on the road and killing individuals, traffic stops, they can't read English. So our state took a heavy approach to this, and our state troopers, great individuals. They're the ones that provide security for me. They are absolutely studs. And they got a great leader that's leading the state, and the governor Stitt, or not leaving the state, but leading the troopers, and Governor Stitt gave them the ability to be able to work with ICE and with DHS. They started doing rolling traffic stops on our interstates coming in. So coming in out of Texas, coming in out of New Mexico, coming in and out of Arkansas and Missouri. And it's amazing. We started catching so many semis on the road. The first time we did it is 110 illegal semis on the road that were driving with CDLs that literally said no name given. That was on the name. And they were coming from, the license were only issued in California and New York. We only did this for 10 hours. We took 110 off of one stop. This was this was coming out of Amarillo, Texas. So it was going eastbound on I-40. We also did it on I-44, and we just finished one on 69 highway coming out of Texas. Each time we had, and that, by the way, the 110 was just off the one coming out Amarillo, Texas. The other numbers are staggering too. We took 10 felons off the road just 2 days ago coming out on 69 highway coming in. The traffic, what you showed there, the trucks, we put an airplane in the sky. The trucks were stopping on truck stops and had the truck stops full in Texas, and they weren't coming into Oklahoma. And then they were rerouting around us because of traffic on 69 highway that is normally just crammed with trucks all of a sudden went quiet. And so now we're trying to do a 13 state wide all the same day, so these trucks can avoid us, to try taking these truckers off the road that are causing these accidents. And and literally every single one of them, Benny, have a license that are out of California or out of New York. And I'm not joking, the license underneath name says no name given. And it is the most absurd thing that you've ever seen. That's one thing that we can do for deportation. We got to get them as they're traveling. Second thing is that there has to be a coordination and overall coordination, like I'm talking about, not just one spot at a time, because these individuals, they communicate and they'll migrate from one area to the next when the enforcement comes in. And if you're allowing them to migrate, you're just playing whack-a-mole. So the DHS has made it very clear. We've told them to self-deport. If they self-deport, they can fill out the immigration information legally on the border before they enter into the United States, and we will process that. But if we deport you, you're not going to be able to come back to the United States legally. But if we do it, so they know this, but if we were able to do a mass 13, 14, 15 states, or just say we do all the red states all one day.
Yeah.
And that's how you're able to do a mass deportation all at once, but it takes you an unbelievable amount of coordination, which I feel like the state of Oklahoma is leading this. We had DHS with us 2 days ago. It wasn't 2 days ago, it was actually Monday. That were down with us the whole time, seeing the way we're doing it, and is going to present us to other states, because we've got it working well in Oklahoma.
How do Republicans sell this? I'm constantly obsessed with marketing. Republicans are just clowned constantly by the left. Epstein is a great example.
Yeah, and the healthcare, right?
Epstein, healthcare. These are crippling issues for Democrats. These are issues that Democrats can't defend. And if ever pressed on them, they just fall to pieces. But Republicans have no capacity to just market and sell to the American people. And oftentimes some of your colleagues will, take a bogey and be like, it's because the media, right? But like, not today, man. Like, not today. It's not like there's like only 3 networks and you don't control them. Like, many means of getting this message out. How do Republicans send the message to the American people that your life is so much better with mass deportations, whether it's schools, rent prices, home prices, grocery prices, gas prices, electricity prices, whether it is simply the security you feel walking down the street, that is the most marketable. It's like a 90-10, 95-5 issue, Senator, if Republicans did it right.
Well, because we want to explain ourselves. So we tried to sell policy, and the Democrats are selling politics. Yes. There's 2 different things when you do that. I mean, for instance, we tried to explain healthcare. You can't, the generation, the population that is listening, other than in your show and some of these other podcasts, they want the 8-second version, the Green New Deal, affordable healthcare, right? Build back better. It's the small little things that the Democrats put out there, but they don't have to explain it. And then we try to explain why their position is awful. It's like right now we're trying to explain our way out of healthcare, and they're saying the Republicans are the one running it. And I'm like, and you ought to hear our conversations we have in our conferences. Everybody's coming up with these long ideas. We need to message it this way. We need to talk about what's happening really in the healthcare industry. We need to talk about what's happening with price. And I'm like, no. All we got to do is stand up and say it's unaffordable. Obama said it was going down 25%. It's up 221%. Which one's better? Before affordable health care or now that you're living in the real world? It's easy to explain when you start talking about immigration. Okay, it's like Reagan said about Jimmy Carter. Are you better off before Carter got in office, or are you worse off? because I believe better days are ahead of us. Not what Jimmy Carter was saying is by putting on a sweater. This is how Reagan explained it. If we're going to get out there and explain it, just say, do you feel safer walking down your streets today? Or did you feel safer walking down your streets 18 months ago? And let people think about it rather than us trying to explain the policies of it.
Well, yeah. How about 30 years ago, right? How about 30 years ago? Like back when I was born, and back when when you were a very young man in the 80s, back when before 150.
Are you saying I'm older than you? Is that what you're
150?
saying?
I don't actually know how old you are.
I'm 48.
You're 40. Okay, all right. So you're 10 years older than me. So like you were riding a bike. You were riding your bike, your radio flyer with your baseball cards in the spokes down your street in the 1980s. You were like the little kid in ET. All right. Yeah. Okay.
No, this is a true statement.
So has the country gotten better? Has the country gotten actually better with 150 new migrants, most of them from the third world, brought here that don't share our culture or traditions? The answer is no. No. You could. The metrics of everything except for GDP, like the metrics on everything, have collapsed. Home ownership for young people, the price, the affordabilities, like security, safety, the prisons overflowing. Nothing has gotten better, actually.
Do you know the people that appreciate their citizenship, honestly, more than almost anyone, is the people who went through the process legally?
Sure.
And most of those that go through the process legally actually are Republicans. And that was proven during Trump's last election. They're fed up with the illegal immigration because it's giving them a bad name.
Yeah.
And so it's not just immigration, it's the legal, because when you allow them to come over illegally and you allow them to break a law when they come into the United States, what makes you think they're going to be law-abiding citizens once they immigrate or integrate into our cities? They're not. It doesn't work that way. It's kind of like allowing a child to throw a fit at the grocery store the first time. You think you won't do it the second time or the third time or the fourth time. At some point, you got to put your foot down. For me, I make sure their butt hurt. And so you have to at some time have to enforce the law, and because we're a nation of law or we're a lawless nation. It's that simple. And I get, listen, you said this a while ago in Charlotte, but this isn't just in Charlotte, it's happened all over the United States. We have job sites. I'm in the construction business. We have plumbing, HVAC, electrical companies, and so I get it. Job sites are empty right now. They really are. But at the same time, you're seeing income for the first time, real income brought home income increase for the first time in like 6 years. The reason why you're seeing that is because we are, and the construction industry is having to hire these individuals. Now, if you look at licensed professions like plumbing, HVAC, and electrical, where you have to have a license through the state to be an apprentice, you got to be a licensed journeyman or a licensed contractor, those individuals, they don't really have the influx of illegals working for them. But you start looking at roofers, you're looking at framers, sheetrockers, masonaries, all those are subcontractors where you hired the company that was legal, the owner, and they would pull up to a job site in a white van or an F-250 crew cab, white, and 12 people would walk out of it. And those individuals are coming in, they're all getting paid cash. Those jobs, yes, have slowed down, but it's because it was easier for contractors to hire illegals than it was for them to hire legals. And so now the construction industry is shifting a little bit, but it will shift. And we will learn how to build things here. We'll be able to put people back to work because they're not. This is actually what the Democrats want to talk about by livable wages, by trying to increase the minimum wage, minimum wage is supposed to be a starting pay, never livable. When we get these trades actually hiring Americans again, that is more than a livable wage. That's top end of the middle class. I mean, my plumbers, my HVAC, my electricians in Oklahoma, I guarantee you are the top 2% income earners in Oklahoma. And that's why our trades are growing, because they had to be licensed. These other trades need to come along with us, and you're going to see it, which is exactly what you talked about. And mass deportation is going to take a coordination of not just one city at a time and not just ICE going in there, but accumulation of red states working together, synchronizing themselves by being able to bring everyone and one large sweep and do it, once, twice, 3 times a month. On the other side of that, as we were going on the air here with you, I was getting phone calls because we've been doing this. The problem that you run into when you're doing enforcement in Oklahoma, you also run out of detention areas because you don't just arrest them one day and deport them the next. There is a period of time that takes place. I mean, there's some government relationships that got to take place. There's a lot of the times you got to figure out who these individuals are. You've got to run their data because some of them are wanted felons in other countries too, not just the United States. It's not just sending them back to Mexico, by the way. You're catching people from Asia countries, from the Middle East. I mean, you're catching everybody, especially in trucking industry. So there's a wait period. Well, that wait period means you got to have detention areas. I have community leaders. I'm not joking. As you were calling my name, I was hanging up the phone because I have people upset that detention areas are going in their towns, that they're using old Walmarts or old, big lots that they're trying to put into temporary holding centers while they can get these people processed because our federal system in Oklahoma is overwhelmed.
So I have a final question for you, Senator, and I obviously I think there's no shortage of empty Kmart's, or whatever. Set up Alligator Alcatraz here and hopefully after the Supreme Court ruling yesterday, we'll be able to do these deportations more expediently. The major critical issue for us on this program, and something that we are going to be spearheading with great energy and verve, is the housing crisis for young people. And as somebody who knows housing, I want to get your take on what are some of the real world capacity that we have to fix this crisis, because it is in fact the number one theft of the American dream for our young people. What must be done?
So there's a couple of things. Let's just take blue states, for instance. Blue states, I was in Oregon. You was talking about Oregon the other day, a while ago, about Oregon being really hard Trump. I went to Oregon to speak at a Lincoln Day rally and do some events just 2 Saturdays ago. Blown away, Benny. Blown away by the turnout. And this was outside of Portland. The unions there came out, supported me for being there, actually did an event for me while I was there, and they brought it to my attention too. They said, we have people that are waiting on the bench because we can't go to work, because they've regulated these red cities have regulated us out of work. We can't build. You can't build apartments. You can't build condos. You can't build new housing additions because the environmentalists have stopped everything. We can't build roads. We can't build bridges. So you can't build infrastructure. So what's causing the housing crisis is, one, if they can build it, all these regulations, all these mandates add cost to every lot you purchase, to every house you purchase. And it brings the cost of a house up from doing maybe $100 a square foot. It's up to $350 a square foot or $400 a square foot, because the cost just to enter, if they can even get the purchase done. So we've regulated a lot of our housing out of feasibility. You can take that in New York, you can take it in Portland, you can take it in California, you can take it in any red state you want to. That's the biggest issue. In the state of Oklahoma, the reason why we don't have, or in some of our red states, the reason why we don't have mass building is because the profit margins aren't as high, because we don't have the dense population that, say, some of these red states or these blue states have. And so we have to attract the building community and the building contractors to come in. It's simple math. It's supply and demand, but it's also the cost of entry. So that from the federal government and from the state government, what are we requiring these houses to be built? I want safe and I want health. I want safe and health and let's see, it's safety and health are the two biggest issues that you look at on buildings. So what are the regulations that we're putting on there that's above and beyond that? That's cost prohibitive to bring down the cost of housing. It's not just extending HUD homes. It's not just having affordable housing being built because you're subsidizing it. It's not rent control. It's having suppliers come in and bring down the cost of regulations and bring costs down the mandates, and have the state and federal government bring it down by allowing more people to build, have more houses on the market. It's going to bring the cost down, because you can still build a house today for $100 a square foot if you're able to bring down the cost of everything that goes into the house, including purchasing the lot and the infrastructure that's required. One of the big things that's added so much to homes right now is any dual homes that you have, like duplexes or quadplexes. They're making you go in and you're putting fire suppression in them. Okay, I get people don't want to burn up. I understand that, but does anybody understand how much cost that puts into a house to put fire suppression on the house? And then how much insurance costs on top of that, because now you have more water lines that are exposed and sprinkler systems are very prone to leaking, and how much damage that causes to the house. So now the homeowner or the person that's building the house has to insure that house for 2 years because they got to have warranty on it. So the cost of that goes through the roof. And then the cost of simply having the sprinkler system means the infrastructure that you got to bring in, meaning the water supply line that you got to bring into it, you have to assume that 3 houses are all going to be blowing at the same time. So now the water line that should be a 2-inch water line is now put up to a 6-inch water line. That cost, although I know that's simple, but all those little bitty costs add to the affordability of a home. And so we need to take a hard look at this stuff because affordable housing is unaffordable right now.
Yes. Affordable housing is unaffordable. Okay. It's a perfect DC line. the Affordable Care Act is unaffordable. Yes. Thank you, Washington. Thank you, Senator. Thank you for proving the point. I know we have to move here, but very quickly, please, because these are too you're right about the complication. Republicans have a capacity to do this, to take a simple solution that could be sold to the American people and then to overcomplicate it. And you're not, sorry, Senator, but I'm not going to win by talking to kids about water lines. Okay.
I know.
You're not going to win a stadium of children, to say that we care about their housing by telling them about 6-inch, the difference between 2-inch and 6-inch water lines. So
you're true.
You have to actually boil it down a little better. We're going to be working really hard on this program. We're going to be announcing some partnerships with AFPI and other organizations to try and create a slate of understandable and acceptable policies that could actually be implemented and could be sold to the American people, because the alternative is we're selling them rent control. That's what's happening right now with Mandami. Mandami is selling them rent control homes. So, and it worked, by the way. It worked, and it radicalized me. This is the last thing I was working on with Charlie Kirk, and it's something that we must. It is the ball game. If young kids can seize the American dream through home ownership or not. It leads to higher family creation, higher children creation, the joy and happiness in life, and then an actual ownership of our land. So what are your thoughts on a first-time homebuyer credit? Well, I would have to pass through Congress.
First-time homebuyer credit, I have no issue with it. I actually, was a first-time homebuyer back when I was 19 years old when I bought my first house. And if there wasn't some first-time homebuyer loans out there, I would have never been approved at 19 years old. And so I've owned my whole house since I was 19. But here's the problem. Rent control just means that you're going to limit the amount of people that can enter the space. You're not going to have builders go in because they can't afford it. If you don't take care of what's the cost of the input into building homes, it doesn't matter. And so trying to subsidize it, that's the Democrats' solution. They want to subsidize it. They want to put taxpayer to it. That's just putting a Band-Aid on the bigger problem. President Trump's approach is let's cut for every one new regulation, cut 20. That is what will bring down the cost of construction. Having permit reform, actual permit reform, and I know this gets wonky, but that is how you bring down the cost of construction. By getting the federal government out of it and putting the money in the states, because any federal job, including federal housing, is almost 100%, and I'm not joking when I say this, is almost or more than 100% more than what it would be for a private individual to build it. The reason why is because it's how much mandates and different regulations that are put onto federal housing versus when it's built just for the state or a private homeowner. And so all that stuff has to be looked at, which is what President Trump is really no one knows building better than him, and that's his big push. That's why you hear Scott Bassett say he really feels like things are going to get better in this first and second quarter of 2027 of next year, because these effects are starting to go into place.
2026, yes.
So, or 26, I say 27, sorry, 26. I jumped a full year on me.
All right. I didn't know that you had this background. You have to join me in some of these initiatives in seeking what is going to have to be a slate of policies to fix housing in this country. We're going to be doing some big announcements tomorrow. I'll text you offline, Senator, but we got some real things rolling. Thank you, Senator, for joining our program. Everybody follow Mark Wayne Mullen, 314,000 followers on X. Godspeed.
Thanks, brother.